Good morning, everyone. Well, no, good afternoon, everyone. It's morning through most of the day here around here, I guess, but it's good afternoon, and we are here with the aging experts. I'm Carol Henderson. I have Life by Design, and we are here to help you learn how to make the second half of your life better than the first. I have an amazing guest today, and we're really excited to have her on. But before I introduce her, let me introduce my gorgeous co-host, Anita Connor. Barbara got called in to an event today, and so she couldn't come, and Anita was gracious enough to step in and fill her shoes. And you probably recognize Anita from a month or two ago that we had her on as guest. So she's not a new face to y'all, but she was wonderful to come in and help me today at the last minute. So I was really glad. So Anita, introduce yourself to the people again.
Thank you. I'm so honored that you asked me, Carol, and I'm happy to be here and also with Debbie to get to know her. I'm Anita Connor. I live in Yucca Valley, California, right next door to Joshua Tree National Park. I'm a single adoptive mom of four siblings out of foster care, and I'm a weight loss and wellness coach. I help people with nutrition and lose weight, and I've lost about 165 pounds so far, and I'm losing the rest, and I'm feeling great.
And looking great too.
Oh,
Looking
thank you, dear. Thank you so much.
We have actually met face to face, been up to St. George, Utah to events to, that's the thing, on Zoom, you never know if somebody knows each other on Zoom or face to face. And so it's really
Exactly.
fun to get to know people outside of Zoom. I mean, I love Zoom because it just expands our world so much, but
Really
it's
does.
fun to get to see people in real life, sitting around the proverbial breakfast table having a cup of coffee, which is, what we're doing is in the afternoon. Our Thoughtful Thursdays, just to remind you, is in the morning, and that's when we have our coffee. Women used to do that after the kids went to school. And then they'd go home and get all their washing and ironing and stuff like that done. And then they'd get back together in the afternoon and they would have a glass of water, tea, whatever, while they're waiting for the kids to get back out of school. And so at that time, they would solve each other's problems, hear each other's issues, and just love on each other. And we are missing that in our society today. And so that's what we're here to do, is just to love on each other and to love on each one of y'all to, just have a better life, make the second
And
half of your life
often
better.
pray for each other too. Often, that
Amen.
sounds like
Amen.
prayer
Yeah,
too.
we don't shy away from Jesus on this platform.
No.
So that is one thing I will say, that I try, we don't exclude guests, but we
No.
definitely want to promote the the bringer of all goodness into the world. So anyway, Debbie, this is Debbie Essling. She is a financial whiz. She will work with you in so many areas, and oftentimes without charging an arm and a leg, or even a fingernail. So so anyway, Debbie, tell us a little bit about what you do and where you are and what you're coming from, so that people can kind of get a feel for you, and then we'll get into all the bunny trails that we'll take.
Oh, sure, sure. Thank you, Carol. So, I've been doing this for several years, but I don't come from the financial services industry. I actually had a corporate middle management position with a couple of different companies for about 30 years, a long time. And I just got disgruntled with it. I didn't feel that it was for me anymore. And I found out about the financial services industry. Somebody introduced me to the company that I'm with now, and I just loved it. And I thought it fit
Great.
all of my skill sets and everything. So I generally work with average middle income people for whatever they need help with when it comes to their money, really, to sum it up. I'm outside of Chicago, Illinois. I'm a far north suburb Waukegan, Illinois. If you've ever heard of Waukegan, Illinois, the birthplace of Jack Benny, rather. But I live very close to Lake Michigan, very close to the state of Wisconsin. I love my community and I love the people here. I think they're wonderful. So, I just really enjoy ever since we moved here over 30 years ago. And I really enjoy what I do. And I do a lot of work in the community related to financial services as well. So I'm really glad the opportunity that I have to be able to do that.
Do you with Zoom, since COVID hit, I'm just wondering, do you help people on Zoom? You have clients that if people want to reach out to you on Zoom?
Yes, across the country on Zoom, even into Canada. I could work with people in Canada as well. Most of it is on Zoom because I am working across the country. In fact, just earlier today, I was with somebody outside of Boston. So it just really depends. But I also do, like what you said, Carol, sometimes people just want to meet face to face, right? So yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it was Tuesday. I met with somebody face to face in their home. They live nearby here. So that's fun too. So I enjoy doing it either way. It was all face to face until COVID happened. And then we made this discovery rather quickly that we could do all of this on Zoom, all of it. I could be 100% remote if I wanted to. So that was a wonderful opportunity that it gave us because we can reach more people and it gives us more time as well because you don't have all that travel time that you're doing, right?
Yes.
So,
well,
yeah.
and I come out of the model and talent industry for the most part because I had my brick and mortar for so many years, but what got me into that was I was an image consultant and I taught even internationally color analysis, face design, image consulting, and things like that. And so, I never had thought about doing color analysis over Zoom. But I got to interview a girl the other day, and she does color analysis on Zoom. And I'm like, how do you do that? Because to me, that's definitely an in-person, because you're putting these color swatches up on people and seeing the changes. But I mean, she had worked that out to be able to do it on Zoom. I'm like, wow, because with all the different computers and their different color ranges and stuff like that, I didn't know, but she did, and it was fascinating. I love doing these interviews because I meet so many new people.
I know. I've met a hypnotherapist that does hers on Zoom, hypnotherapy on Zoom, and then somebody else, a dog trainer that does dog training on Zoom. Things that you would never think would be possible, but they're doing it.
Now, Debbie, there's so many people, especially since COVID, that are making money online, that are doing side hustles and all that. Do you have, experience with that? What would you say to people? Because I mean, everybody in my life is trying to do that, even my adult kids and myself. Where are you coming from with that, and how can you help people?
So this was originally a side hustle for me, pre-COVID. I started this as a side hustle because I was disgruntled with what I was doing as a career, and somebody presented this to me. And so I did this part-time for a couple of years, and then COVID happened and my husband lost his job and he was having a hard time finding another one. And so I told him, go ahead and retire and I'll cover. Okay. Don't worry about it anymore. And then I quickly realized, like within a few weeks, that I need to quit my full-time job if I'm going to cover two salaries, right? So I quit my job
so I can double my salary.
So I can make more money. Yes.
You're brave. You are brave.
Yeah, but people think that what we do as a side hustle is just, we were talking the other day about it being mad money for the little woman. It can be a full time, and I don't recommend quitting your day job. That is a source of leads. If you've got a day job, hang on to it as long as you can until you can't keep up with it anymore.
That's good advice. Good advice.
Yeah. Right. It's to me, it's like a merry-go-round. And I was a skinny little kid, and they had those big metal merry-go-rounds, and you'd pull and pull, and I was an only child, so I didn't have friends siblings to help me. So you pull and you pull and you pull to try to get it done, and you can barely walk. You can barely move it. And then it gets to where you're walking, and then you're running, and then you can hop up on it. And once it's going and spinning, you can just do this with your foot every now and then to keep it going. But it does take a little time and effort. It's not like the three of us sit on the sofa and eat bonbons all day and the heavens open and dollar bills fly down. That it's work, but it's fun work. And
Yes.
you do need to be disciplined, because you
And
can't sit on the
consistent.
sofa and watch bonbons all day.
Exactly. And consistent.
Right.
Yes.
Consistent. Mhm.
Exactly. You can't pull on it for a day and then quit and think, oh, well, it didn't work. Well, if you think it doesn't or you think it does, you're right.
Whatever you believe happens. So,
Right.
watch what you're thinking. But yeah, definitely, you do have to be consistent in your behavior, and in your habits. I start work at a particular time, and my appointments run throughout the day at different times, but I have a definite start time for when I start work, and I only take breaks to eat lunch and dinner. Sometimes I continue work after dinner, sometimes I don't, but it just really depends on my day. But you have to be very disciplined at it. You do.
Yes.
But it's fun. Like Carol said, it's so much fun.
That's wonderful. Debbie, do you help people with budgets? I'm assuming that you help people set up a budget.
Yeah, and that's a little different than what most financial advisors will do, right? I hold several different licenses, but one thing that I do is if they're not using a budget, this is my general rule. When I sit down with people, I say, all these goals and dreams that we're talking about, if we don't start you on a budget, you're not going to realize any of them unless you're really lucky. Okay. You might just by blind luck hit one of them, but otherwise that's how important having a budget is. And so I work with people. I give them the tools.
Okay.
They do some of the work. Okay. But I give them the tools and I show them how to do it, the importance of it, and then they take it from there.
That's great.
Yeah. Along with other things, like if they need help with their credit score, I'll help them with that. Saving, trying to build up an emergency fund. I help them with that, helping them increase their cash flow. Like sometimes people make a lot of mistakes with, how they're paying their expenses, mistakes they're making with their bills, things like that. So we restructure that along with helping people get out of debt. Now that's a big one.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on debt?
Mine too.
So,
Yeah. Tell us.
So it's a foundation to take care of the debt. Not that you put all of your focus on your debt, but some focus needs to be done on the debt. And that's what a lot of financial advisors don't do. They don't even find out if their clients have any debt. We're just the opposite. Is, what debt do you have and how can we work out a structure to get out of debt? There's a couple different methods that are used. We use the debt snowball method, which is something that some of your viewers may know what that is and some don't, but it's a very effective way to work out of debt. And we come up with an individualized program for them to be able to do it. So we just don't say this is how it works, but we also come up with a spreadsheet of, this is how much you're going to put on everything every month, and this is how you're going to roll it over. It's a very effective way for getting out of debt. And it gives people that control, which is what they're looking for, is to have that control over their debt that is causing them so much stress and anxiety. And once you have control over something, that alleviates the stress and anxiety, because that's really what's causing all that stress, is that feeling of lack of control. And so we give people that control.
Do you find people that have a lot of shame and embarrassment because they almost maybe don't want to tell you how much debt they have, or they're embarrassed because of, credit card and all that? Do you ever deal with that with people?
Yeah. And sometimes I know that's a hindrance as to why they don't even want to meet with somebody, is because they're nervous about all the debt that they do have. I will tell you, for myself personally, I've experienced that firsthand. My husband and I actually have a college degree in economics. but I was never taught about personal finance. And
Wow.
so for the first 20, 25 years of our marriage, my husband and I made so many mistakes, including huge amounts of debt and not saving like we should have been saving. So I'm very familiar. If somebody's embarrassed about their debt or anything, I just tell them a little bit about my story. It's like, I've been there. I know it, because this isn't taught in school. This is
No,
it's
that
not.
is, they're teaching all kinds of things that are not necessary for daily life. But
Yeah.
they're not teaching basic things like finance. And so people, number one, and I will tell you, Keith and I, we learned early on, we had several friends and a couple of them were accountants, and yet their personal finances were a wreck. I mean, they were from comfortable families. So, things were okay, but it was just like, in fact, the wife of one of them said, he's a CPA and he can't balance our checkbook. you know, but that seems to be very common for people in the finance. And the other caution that I would say is, and I'll even ask it as a question to Debbie, but I think I've asked it and know the answer. But so many people that you hire as a financial advisor will put you in, we'll just say mutual funds or the stock market, and they make money whether you're making money or whether you're losing money. And when you're losing money and they're making money, there's something wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
They don't have a vested interest in you making money.
Right. So I'm a registered representative. So yes, I can put people into mutual funds and things like that. But I also hold other licenses where I can sell, or recommend rather, fixed products, index products, products that are not directly invested in the stock market. And so that open mind, and I guess what I would warn your viewers about is, don't fall prey to the one-trick ponies. And some financial advisors are one-trick pony. Let me invest it for you. Let me invest it for you, because they have a certain quota that they have to meet. I don't have a quota. So nobody's telling me what to recommend at all. And I have over 150 providers that I can choose from, big name providers. So it's all up to what my client's needs are. And as a fiduciary, that's what I look at, is what the client needs. But these one-trick ponies, and just kind of like, I really want to make sure I did talk about this, because you hear all these things online of different recommendations that financial experts are giving, like, hey, buy term and invest the rest, or hey, what about infinite banking, or hey, invest all your money in this, or hey, how about crypto? Everybody needs to be doing this. And that's what you need to watch out for, is anybody who's advising that everybody should be doing this. Because those are the ones who are not holding the licenses. Because if they did, they'd be in trouble. They'd be in trouble of losing their license.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, all of these online podcasters and all of these people giving all of this advice of everybody needs to be doing this, they're not certified to give it, because I cannot give any advice to the masses. Like, Carol, I cannot tell you right now what you should be doing with your 401k if you had one, because I don't know your personal situation. And if I did that without finding it out first, I could lose my license.
Oh.
So people that are giving advice without finding out every individual circumstance first, then they don't have the certifications to really know what they're talking about. So that's a very important distinction to know about in the financial.
Well, and that goes back to what I'm saying, is they're making money whether you are or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Debbie, are you licensed or certified in any way regarding insurance? I know I've been looking into that lately, whole versus term, and
and I recommend all different types of insurance. It just depends on the person. I do term, and I do whole life, IULs, VULs, all different kinds of permanent policies. It just really depends on what's right for the client. Because again, I'm not told to recommend one thing over another. So I can just go, but I'm licensed in insurance as well. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Well, I'm excited to hear all this. And I know that when Anita found out who I was interviewing and what she did, she goes, "Oh, I
I
can't."
was like, ooh.
And
The ass
I
person
said,
thing.
we'll talk before and after the recording,
know.
because as y'all know, we record this because we're trying to put 3 or 4 schedules together. So we record this particular show, and yeah, I can see a mutual bond here.
Yeah. Because we're all, especially since COVID, I have 2 of my 4 are in their 20, all my kids are in their 20s and 2 are still at home, and they're doing side gigs, they have jobs, but they're also wanting to do side hustle money. And I started a new business, and I'm expanding mine actually this week and next week, with some great opportunities to build
Well, and
my.
Anita, I have something I want to talk to you about too. With
Oh, okay, great.
both of y'all after we get off the air.
Great.
One of my guests from the other day.
Good. So yeah, I mean, so many of us are needing some guidance with somebody that is credible. And I love the fact that you're so transparent, Debbie, about your own life, because man, a lot of financial experts that I have talked, they would never admit, hey, I've made mistakes, and that's so relatable. That's so
Yeah.
relatable, Debbie. That really
Yeah.
is. I hope people reach out to you because that's just so relatable. That's just so authentic.
Authentic.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, Debbie, have you ever heard of a man named now I'm gonna it went out of my head when I was gonna say it. I guess I'm not supposed to say it on the air. So Gary Cassey.
Gary Cassey?
He's actually a pastor now, but he has a whole ministry team that helps people. But
with their finances.
He was a financial advisor, and his car was so bad he would park around the corner and walk to his appointments because it was so nasty and rattle trap and didn't run and smoked and stuff. And
well, I know a lot of us in the Christian in the faith community are familiar with Dave Ramsey,
right,
and
right,
have adopted some of his encouragement.
right.
And not everything, but
well, and
he does teach some good principles. The debt snowball that I was talking about earlier. He didn't come up with that. Somebody else did, but that is one of the solid recommendations that he makes.
Well, and I've followed Kenneth Copeland since the early 80s.
Oh, sure.
79, 80. And he was get out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt.
Right.
And so, way before Gary came on the scene, Gary's got some great stuff and he's noted for that. But, I had been hearing it. Well, and even from my parents, my mom, they had credit cards. But I mean, back in the day, they didn't have credit cards. They had an account at each store, and so you couldn't get in too much. You'd have Sears and you'd have Wards and you'd have, ABC. Then they came out with MasterCard and Visa, and American Express and Diners. But my mom would log those in her checking account like a check and deduct it. And then she'd pay them off every month. Now,
yeah, and that's what we recommend. That's what I do with my credit cards is I have a budget. And when I put something on a credit card, it comes out of my budget. So now I've subtracted it from my budget. So when the credit card comes due, it's already there and waiting.
Right.
Money's been budgeted for it. So,
right.
And that's what we recommend.
A method that my kids and I have done is, well, some people call it the envelope method, where
I knew you were going to say that.
You budget and you put, you write down at the beginning of the month when you get paid, you put the whatever $300 for that month for groceries, and when it's gone, it's gone. I do a postage stamp envelope, and I do a tithing envelope, and per household items, and we try to do that. We really try to.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, and there's a budgeting app. I think it's the one that does it with the envelopes is YNAB. It stands for You Need a Budget. It's an app.
Oh,
And you do have to, I think you have to pay like $15 a month for the app, but I think they're the ones that actually use the envelope method as well.
okay.
Yeah.
I have a fly that has come to visit me in my basement. He was here yesterday, and he doesn't bother me at the beginning of a recording, but by the end he's going. "Meow."
It's
And I have
funny.
a fly swatter, but I can't ever.
So you're, from what you said earlier, I just want to make sure I understand. So you can work with people individually and advise people with investments and insurance and their financial health, but you couldn't on a broadcast or in a public way like this give recommendations for like whole versus term insurance or certain investments, right? Is that what I understand you said?
Yeah, so I can educate on a group setting. I can educate. Like I can talk to you about how compound interest works. I can talk to you about how debt snowball works, or what are the different types of insurance and how do they work. So I can educate all day in a group setting. But when
Okay.
it comes to individual recommendations, what I do is I do a full financial analysis. It covers 6 areas: cash flow, debt, emergency fund, insurance or proper protection, wealth accumulation, which is like retirement planning and college planning, and then also estate preservation. And we look at those 6 areas and we do a full analysis, very similar to what many advising firms do.
Right.
But we don't charge anything to have this analysis done. And this is where the financial coaching comes in, because if they need help setting up a budget, we do that. If they need help getting out of debt, we do that. If they need help with their retirement planning, we do that. But all of this is done at no cost. So I don't even charge a fingernail. So all of this is done at no cost. And that's why we're accessible to everybody. And I've worked with those that are in the higher income area as well, because they need the help as well. There are, sometimes people are making mistakes with their money, and it doesn't matter how much income you're making. What really matters is how much wealth you're accumulating. So it doesn't matter how much money you make, but how much money you save. And some people just aren't good at the saving portion.
And are you of the can you share like the emergency fund you mentioned? I know some of the advisors that we were mentioning the names of, they talk about you should always have like 6 months worth of emergency savings. That would include if you lost your job and you had to pay rent, utilities, and all that. Where are you coming from on that with emergency savings?
6 months is usually a good thing to follow. I will often recommend less than that, like maybe 3 or 4 months. If somebody doesn't have a mortgage and they don't have kids, they don't have any dependents, they can get by with less in an emergency fund, but otherwise 6 months worth is a good start. And then you need to decide whether you want to include discretionary expenses in there. Those expenses that, you could really cut out if you needed to. If you lost your job, would you still be going to the movies every Friday night? Probably not. So, should you count those expenses as something to save in your emergency fund for? Probably not. But everybody has their own thing. Because like some people are like, I still have to have that $100 hobby that I do every month. If I don't do my hobby, I'm worthless. So it's like, okay, so then we'll count that as something.
So what's your hobby?
Not my hobby.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about you.
Debbie,
no, my hobby's free.
Are you certified in tax advice too? Are you a tax person?
No, I'm not. I do have someone that I go to for advice, and that, like I have my own CPA, and I do have actually a business associate that also is a CPA. So if somebody needs that as well, I can always have him join in and we could have a conversation. Yeah.
That's great.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, this is exciting. I can't wait to have everybody put in the chat what, questions that they have for our guest or for my co-host or for me. It's been exciting, and I am just so glad to be able to bring Debbie to all of my viewers and let them know that you don't have to pay somebody an arm and a leg or even a fingernail to get,
That's
and you don't have to be one of the wealthy people to have somebody walk you through this, because
exactly.
it is, it's not something that we're taught, and it should be.
Sadly, very
And
sad.
it's changed. I saw something today about, our children, we raised our children for or our parents raised children for a world that no longer exists. Somebody was saying something about we don't raise our children like we were raised. Well, that world no longer exists. And so that's something that it's sad, and yet it is what it is. And what is
Yeah.
now probably won't exist in another very short time. Who knows? I mean, things are in such an uproar right now. And so you just need to stay happy and spiral your life up and not down. So
Amen.
Yeah.
1 minute last word, Anita.
Well, I'm just so glad to know that there's people like Debbie out there that do offer these kind of services. And, we all have a financial life, and whether you live in denial about it or not, it's not good to stay in denial. So it's so great to know that there's somebody like Debbie that's so real. She's like the real deal, and she's approachable. I like that about her
Yes.
a lot. I like that.
Okay. Debbie, last words.
I'm just really grateful. This was fun.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful to be able to do this, and hopefully I brought some value to somebody out there. And I welcome any questions that anybody may have.
And
I hope
what's
they
the
reach out
best,
to you. Yeah.
what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
So is my contact information going to be available?
Yes, it'll be, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I get it, anyway, I email or phone call works out fine for me. So
Okay.
yeah, any way is fine.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to be in touch with you, Debbie. I'm going to be shooting a couple questions your way.
Okay, sounds good.
and we'll chat a minute afterwards too. But anyway, I just want to thank everyone for coming today and say, you don't know what you don't know. And that's one of Barbara's favorite sayings. And so we miss her today, but I'm so glad Anita could come and help. And the value Debbie has brought today is just wonderful. I'm excited to hear all the things she has to offer. And reach out to any of the three of us, and we will talk to y'all very soon. So you have a wonderful day. Bye.